All right. Hey, I'm Elisa Parker. It's the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. It's been such a blast hanging out all day, and you might have caught our broadcast last night as well on KVMR. And man, I think probably I've had an opportunity to speak with over 40 different filmmakers and special guests, and just it's a gift really to hear all these personal stories. In addition to some of the filmmakers, we have other folks involved, whether they're leading workshops, they're authors, featured artists, and of course, a big part of making the film festival happen is we have our jurors here who really watch a lot of films, basically. And I have Jim Sano with me here. He's the vice president with the World Wildlife Fund for Travel, Tourism, and Conservation. And I know, Jim, have you been a juror for a while?
No, this is my first year.
This is your first year.
Right, I'm a newbie.
So last year it was because you had your film.
Right.
What was your film that you had here last year?
The film was called Pride of Namibia.
That's right.
It was about the intersection between travel, conservation, and sustainable livelihoods, and how that is really creating really powerful incentives for people to value their wildlife more alive than dead.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that film. Actually, I interviewed the filmmaker. It was around the lions, right? And how the community interacts with the lions.
Right, and it's
not
only about the lions, but also elephants and rhinos. And it's really the exception on the African continent in terms of poaching, because the population of elephants and rhinos and other megafauna is growing. And in fact, it has now the world's largest cheetah population. Wow. So, in large part, it is attributed to this, what I call the magic triangle, these partnerships between government, the private sector, and NGOs, and leveraging the resources for all three of these entities to achieve a great conservation result.
So, Jim, you must have a fascinating job to be the VP of Travel and Tourism and Conservation with the World Wildlife Fund. Can you give us just a little insight about what your day-to-day is like?
Well, day-to-day, since World Wildlife Fund operates in over 100 countries and has 6,000 employees approximately, I'm the only individual in the organization who has private sector travel experience. And so there's a great amount of interest around the world because tourism is the #1 export earner in 60 of the world's countries, and within the top 5, 150 countries. So it could be both a threat and an opportunity,
sure,
as we know in our own national parks and protected areas. And really, it's really kind of a diverse portfolio of activities to explore ways about how tourism can be a force for good.
Yeah, what's one example lately where it's been a force for good in the work that you're doing?
Right. And yeah, there are so many examples, and also in our backyard too. So,
where are you based in the Bay Area?
I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area, and live about 20 minutes north of San Francisco, which of course is very blessed with a lot of open space and the Point Reyes National Seashore.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful there. So tell me about your experience of being a juror, part of the jury with Wild and Scenic Film Fest for the first time. What is that process? Give folks an inside scoop about what the jury does.
Right. Well, it's quite a diversity of films, and also films with a whole variety of different sizes and budgets. My sense was there are films that are really made on a shoestring, maybe $10,000 or $20,000, and there were other films that were, I would estimate, the budget was several $1 million.
So you always have to be conscious of that, right? When you're watching the film and making choices.
Exactly. And then one of the things I was really looking for is innovation. Is the film about something that really is an eye-opener? Is it educational? Because there are some films that, even being in the conservation community, I learned a tremendous amount. And then the other thing I really looked at is how would this film play in venues or areas that are not amongst the converted, shall we say.
Sure, sure.
And so there are a number of films that fit in that category that could show in the reddest of states and still, I think, resonate.
And still resonate with
Yeah.
someone. Were you, in watching all of these films, I think you mentioned off camera that you've seen at least 32. So I'm
Right.
assuming the jury takes different blocks of films.
No, we all look at 32 films.
You all look at 32
Right.
films, all right, to
Right.
make the choices.
Right.
Were there, obviously you've been in this field for so long, but was there anything in particular that was new to you, that you learned or surprised you, or maybe even inspired you?
All three.
All three of them did. All three did. What can you share an example if you can? I know you can't give away too much, but
Well, I really can't at this stage.
can't, okay.
Because the award ceremony is tomorrow
Got it.
afternoon, and if I give a little hint, then
then
we'll
that's
spill the
cluing
beans.
us in. Well, what's one of your films that you're working on next?
Well, we just finished shooting a film up in Hudson Bay, and the theme of the film is the connection between polar bears, the Arctic, and climate change. But the interesting facet about this film is that we selected an 11-year-old girl from North Carolina to come up and see the polar bear. She'd never experienced that. And so really we're exploring her view of experience these magnificent animals,
Wow.
the Arctic landscape, and ultimately climate change.
What was that experience like for her?
Oh, she was obviously totally out of her element.
Sure. Yeah, she's in
And-
North Carolina, and you take her up to the Arctic area.
Right, where the high temperature might be -15 in November. We had to totally outfit her and get her prepared, and also prepare. Her parents were not along,
That's huge
getting
in
them,
itself.
comfortable with what we were up to was also a part of the process. But it was a transformative experience for her, which was really what we had hoped.
Well, I hope that when you begin to feature this film, maybe she could come out here for that.
That
Would that be exciting?
That would be quite wonderful. And the two filmmakers, Andy Mazur and Jenny Nichols, they've been many of their films have been a part of the festival since the very beginning, and we also hope that they will come
Yeah,
as well.
that's exciting. Thanks so much, Jim, for all the work you're doing. Thanks for volunteering your time to be a juror for the Wild and Scenic Film Fest. What would you tell everyone about why it's so important to participate? And I pointed there because you could look at that camera. But
Right.
why is it so important to participate in a festival like Wild and Scenic?
I would say this, that being exposed to such a diversity of films and perspectives and stories, the stories are really quite powerful, ultimately is very inspiring. And that's, I think, one of the core principles of this festival is to inspire one to be active and involved and engaged, and to be involved in wherever you live, in organizations that care about our planet.
Thanks so much. Jim Sano of the World Wildlife Fund, thanks so much for being here and for volunteering your time. And it's just great to have you as part of this huge event. It's an
Thank
honor.
you.
And I look forward to hearing more about the film.
Yeah,
Hopefully next year.
next year.
All right, cool.
Right.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay,
Thanks
thank
so
you.
much.